provinces, and for which our associations are those that are limited to a province. If they want to graduate to a national association, then they have to establish at least 5 offices in 5 different provinces. So basically the idea is to try and assist young people to formalize their activities, to try and get young people to combine their skills, their strengths. But our key mandate at the end of the day is to see the development and empowerment of young people, and also to engage government on the needs, views, and ideas of young people. It's a constitutional mandate that we have given by the Zimbabwe Youth Council Act, which was last year amended in 1997, followed by a statutory instrument in 2018, statutory for 2018. And the idea of the Zimbabwe Youth Council is really to just try and be a bridge between young people and government. So as I was just following the conversations that we had this morning, I know that a lot has been said about how young people, not in our sector, this sector of youth development, the sector of youth participation, any other young person that you meet in the street, a lot of people say, my youth are not interested, my youth are not information. And I think our task as people in the development practitioners, let me say, youth development practitioners, is to try somehow and help young people to see how they can be part of the change. Sometimes we talk about change in the youth sector, talk about change in policies, in legislation. And when you say this to a young person, it's difficult for the young person to see how their particular role in that process will translate to change. Because they view themselves as insignificant, they view themselves as not important, but also the complications that they feel are ahead of them in terms of changing policies or legislation. I think we need to try and simplify those processes. We were listening to Guta earlier on, and the way he presents his journey to writing the petitions that he has done, it seems really like a task and a half, but we now know that it can be done. So these are some of the stories that we must share everywhere we go. I think we need to amplify the voices of young people who have done it and done it well. Space in the young book, I'm not going to let me come and speak at my event. I'm not going, I think it must be a thing of the past if we want to change this sector or this industry, as it were, because a lot of us are now making also money out of it. We want also to help young people see the change that will be after all is done. What is it that is going to be in place in this country if transformed the youth sector? I think those are some of the things that young people need to see. The vision. When we have spoken and we are done with speaking, when we have done everything that has to be done in this sector, how is it going to look like? What opportunities are going to be there for young people? What will the young people be doing in that new Zimbabwe where young people are thriving? So I really think that the task is on us to really change our way of attending to the needs of young people. And I personally, and wherever I engage with parliamentarians, with senior parliamentarians, I try by all means to discourage the talk that young people are ignorant, are not interested, and don't know. I think we just need to change that perspective and be positive about our young people. So the Zimbabwe Youth Council has been doing a number of activities to try and make sure that the environment that we operate And I want to underscore that as much as the Zimbabwe Youth Council can initiate a program, as long as young people don't make noise behind us or support these initiatives, they will always take a very, very long time in the shelves, in the processes, in the bureaucracy. The National Youth Policy, for starters, it was reviewed. We started the review process in 2019. A lot of you know about it. We consulted young people because we wanted to review it so that it goes along with the new times. But up to today, it has not been launched. We are working on launching it. But also young people are quiet. We are not, either we are not aware or we are not interested or we don't know how to go about it. But the National Youth Policy is an important piece of document that must be alive to the times that we are living in. And it must determine the culture of state and non-state actors. The culture of how do we treat young people, how do we prioritize, where do we prioritize young people. The National Youth Policy must be the guide whoever is working with young people. Secondly, we have heard about the National Youth Bill. The National Youth Bill was an idea, and now it's an idea in formation. My update for you is that it is currently at the Attorney General's office, where they are drafting the piece of legislation. Basically, what they do is they put it into a framework which we can use, which is friendly, and which we can use as we go and consult young people on exactly what they want in that bill. So they're just putting it in a framework that we will use. But what is important with the National Youth Bill is that we must appreciate that this is the most important piece of legislation that will change the youth sector. It must legislate the development of young people. It must legislate the empowerment of young people. And we must add our voice to it. But it's not only that. As someone has already said in the earlier session, if we sleep on the job as youth development practitioners and we let the 9 Parliament pass, we will start again. The people in the 10th Parliament will treat it as a new thing. What is the National Youth Bill? Even my MPs are very good, they say this 9th session, that 10th session will be like they don't know. So we must push that it becomes a priority. If at all, it must go into this, the 9th Parliament and this session. We must push that it becomes a priority for government and any other bills that government is prioritized. How do we do that? We must talk amongst ourselves. We must lobby. We must advocate that the National Youth Bill becomes a priority. The next news that we must hear from Parliament is the National Youth Bill consultations, and it must pass into a law. It must pass into a law this year, if not this year, latest next year. We must give ourselves targets also. The National Youth Bill will help everyone. It will also help, we expect as the Zimbabwe Youth Council that it will also help us to empower, to support the activities of the Zimbabwe Youth Council. The recommendations that were mentioned by people earlier on to decentralize the Zimbabwe Youth Council. We want the Zimbabwe Youth Council decentralized. We want more resources for the Zimbabwe Youth Council so that it can serve young people. And once this is put in this piece of legislation, perhaps we will see more being done by the Zimbabwe Youth Council and the associations that are registered with the Zimbabwe Youth Council. We know the weaknesses of the Zimbabwe Youth Council. We know the weaknesses that are there in our sector. This bill will strengthen our efforts to empowering and developing young people. So what we need to push for is an agency in making sure that this bill becomes an act by all means necessary. We have heard about the youth caucus, and I'm aware now that there are a number of youth practitioners, development practitioners in institutions that are working towards the establishment or creation of a youth caucus. For those that may not be aware, a youth caucus, we have a youth portfolio committee, which is headed by Ratongofa. This oversees government programming for young people, for youth in specific. But what we are advocating for is let me just say in loose terms, friends of young people in Parliament. Whenever there is an issue that is being discussed or a bill that is going through Parliament, we want certain people to raise their hands and ask, what about young people? Currently, we know that we have a huge deficit of young parliamentarians or youthful parliamentarians who understand clearly the needs and views of young people. So we are basically advocating for a creation of a group of parliamentarians who are friends of us. People who we can go to and say, there is this bill that is going into Parliament. You are our friends. We expect you to stand up and debate on behalf of young people. But currently, if you have the women's caucus, those women who do all they can to make sure that issues to do with women pass through Parliament are debated effectively. But looking at the National Youth Bill, this is what happens. Parliament first reading, second reading, and third reading. And they'll just read one way and the piece of paper. They'll just go through it. And then they'll ask the parliamentarians any debates. And there'll be silence like silence in the room. No one, because if it's not your issue, it's not your issue. You will come with a farmer, come with something else from the pharmacist, whatever they are. They are waiting for their time, for their bill to come through. I mean, the Spanish can do, come through, there are people with interest. So we want to create interest in certain people in Parliament who, when issues to do with young people arise, they will stand up and represent us because we will not be there. So the youth caucus is a very important initiative that will see a lot of activity and a lot of talk in Parliament for and on behalf of young people. It's not the best because we want the young people themselves in Parliament, but in the absence of the young people themselves in Parliament, the best thing that can happen is friends of young people in Parliament. So the youth caucus, as the Zimbabwe Youth Council, we wrote to the Parliament to request for the establishment of this. There are other institutions that did the same, and we have been told that it was approved. So what they basically do now is they create a committee, an initial committee, of 5 or 10, and then together we identify more members of Parliament that want to be part of this group, and we support them. We build their capacity. We interact with them more often so that they understand the needs of young people. Colleagues, if I must refer back to the conversations we had in the morning, you hear things that members of Parliament were saying, and some of it, while it is welcome, some of it you can tell that perhaps they really don't understand where us as young people are coming from. What our needs are. Young people don't want handouts. Young people don't want to, even Malon's young people don't want those. You have gone to school, you have acquired your education, your skills, you want to work for yourself, you want to rise through the ladders of success, you want to be successful, you want to look back and say, I worked hard for this and I got it. The last thing you want is to work hard and not get anything. So you want an environment where you can work hard and succeed. So So these are some of the things that we want our members of parliament to understand. And sometimes this is the fight that we have, that do we want young people in parliament, or do we just want sensitive leadership that understands the needs of young people? And so as we go through the processes and of youth development, we must go through all this. In addition to this, this is the third initiative I've spoken about. Remember, I said the National Youth Policy, it must be launched soon. We must push for that. The National Youth Bill, it must be put in place. The Youth Caucus, yes, the process has started, but we want to see it alive and serving the young people. As the Zimbabwe Youth Council, we also have started an initiative which we are calling, and I think it will be called the National Youth Forum. The National Youth Forum is modeled to assist, coordinate the activities of youth development in Zimbabwe. Basically, what the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Education has done is that it has, through cabinet, where establishing youth desks in all cabinet ministries, cabinet ministries. So we have 4 persons in each ministry who are supposed to serve the needs of young people. So these youth desks are not going to work in a vacuum. We think that to add value to the activities, we must create a forum where periodically you as young people or representatives of young people meet the youth focal persons in each ministry to understand what these ministries are doing on behalf of young people, and also to make them understand the needs of young people. So these are people, whenever a ministry, for example, let's say a Ministry of Mines is doing, and this is a wild example, is doing an exhibition, or is working on my licenses in mining, someone in that ministry must remember young people. Yes, we know that the ministry serves citizens equally and are aware of the plight of young people, but we want a deliberate effort within each ministry to look at the needs of young people. We know that there are women's gender desks, they call them gender desks, whatever the name, the specific name is, but these desks serve the interests and needs of women. And we want the same replicated for young people, because we believe that us as young people are not cannot be served equally as those that have established themselves in various sectors. So youth desks, colleagues have already been established, and what we are doing now is we are going further to create a forum where we coordinate activities together. And I am sure that NAYO is going to be part of this youth forum as we serve our young people. But last but not least, in my sharing of the activities that we are carrying out as the Zimbabwe Youth Council, which may be of interest to you, is that we entered into a partnership or a very strong relationship with the registrar of companies. A lot of young people were facing challenges in registering companies, and we are now registering companies on behalf of the registrar of companies. We receive applications, we process them on behalf of young people, and we deliver the registration certificates of companies to young people through our offices throughout the country. This initiative, we thought, is important for especially those young people that are into entrepreneurship and are failing to formalize their institutions. I think we have, since mid last year, when we started, we have assisted about 1,000 young people to register companies. We should follow that up with capacity building and supporting these young people to be successful business people in our economy, to contribute to economic development. So we think that this is important because us as young people are always saying we are innovative, we are thinking, we are committed, and we want support. And it is our way of making the environment easy to navigate. You would also know that we have the Junior Parliament, which seeks to serve younger citizens below the age of 18. This is just to make sure that also those that have not the capacity to vote or to elect their members of parliament have a voice, and they communicate to government their needs, views, and experiences. And so it is also a leadership development platform for young people. We have also what we are calling a youth policy checking group. Hoping some of you have participated in that, where we basically try to track policy in this country and influence policy so that it is also friendly to young people. So I think these are some of the important initiatives I thought we would share with you, and you see where you fit in. But most importantly, I think that we must work together. The Zimbabwe Youth Council is there to only assist young people, to support them, formalize their activities, get their voice heard by government, and also to make sure that policies and legislation in Zimbabwe is friendly to young people. I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I thank you for the opportunity to interact with our young people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Imani. Before you sit down, I'll kindly request you to continue standing on the program so that we can allow some of the young people that we have here who might have questions or might need to interact directly with the Zimbabwe Council. I'm sure from his presentation, he has been able to give you an understanding into the importance of the Zimbabwe Council in as far as driving issues of youth participation, representation, and empowerment in Zimbabwe. And I think this morning we literally have been in a capacity building process where we've been identifying and also mapping different partners that we need as allies in pushing some of these issues. And one of them is definitely the Zimbabwe Council. So we have about 10 or so minutes before we close this session for us to pose any questions that you might have. Thank you very much. Right, allow me to recognize Elaine.
Thank you for the presentation. I wanted to ask you, how long does it take for an organization to be formalized with Zimbabwe Youth Council, especially those that are not in Harare? How long does it take? And also, Pamatara Nye registering of businesses for young people. How long also does it take to Munari out of Harare, Akwanse register, and actually one of my papers that was even for registering your organization, I think there's a form or a certificate that is to come. How long does it take to Munazu Pesra addition? As you might realize, if you are out of Harare, you're not supposed to still register this Zimbabwe Youth Council, but you don't have anything to show for it. That you are registered. So how long does this process take? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine.
Thank you. I just have one question. I wanted to find out the composition of the youth caucus, the age and who comprise of that youth caucus.
Thank you.
Okay, can I respond?
No, just wait a bit.
Okay, I see.
I know that you are itching, but we are also itching.
Thank you. Mine is a contribution first to the question. I was at the Zimbabwe Council offices recently, and I must say you guys are very welcoming, irrespective of political affiliation. But I think you need to do more as far as your image is concerned, because out there are a number of young people who might think that you are affiliated elsewhere. So I think there is a need for you to at least show those young people how much of an independent organization you are by means of information dissemination. Now, back to the youth bill. How realistic is it that we are going to be having a youth act in the 9th Parliament? How realistic is it? Are we basing ourselves on hope, or should we embrace the possibility of us restarting the 10th Parliament in 2023? Thank you. Okay, Zaba?
Thank you. Okay, you referred to the fact that we are still waiting to launch the national youth policy, and also we are still waiting to see if the national youth bill is going to be passed. If we now have the national youth bill, say it goes through, is there really a need to also have a national youth policy? Since one of the challenges that you had in reviewing it, it's because people were asking that, what are we really reviewing? Because we don't know what worked and what didn't work. Thank you.
Okay, Richard?
Thank you. I wanted to ask Mr. Zamawani, what is take on the outing of youth organizations that are challenging the status quo, and what measures have the Zimbabwe Youth Council put in place to protect such youth organizations? For example, Zimbabwe National Students, we have been arrested for merely wearing our t-shirts.
Okay, thank you very much. Richard, do we have any questions before I close the question segment? All right. So I think as you prepare your responses, Lengani, I think you might also need to speak to the fact that it's now a year on since we had the Zimbabwe Youth Principles in the cabinet, and we are still talking about having the youth bill. And I think you've already given us an idea of how important it is going to be, because then when things are legislated, it also means that government is mandated to do something about them. And then I think the last thing is also maybe to speak to an issue I think that I had leaders that were sharing yesterday when they arrived here, which was just around the visibility of the council, for instance, in the further marginalized communities like Lamchi, Gwanda, Mangwe, etc. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. To start with the question on registration, we register youth associations in all provinces. National associations are registered at head office here in Harare. And then provincial youth associations are registered in the provinces. Our provincial offices are in all provincial capitals of this country. For Bulawayo, it's in Bulawayo, much south is in Gwanda, Mashonaland West is in Chinoi, Mashonaland Central in Pindura, Manicaland in Mutare, much east, Marondera, and Masvingo. Much north, we have a problem. The offices are in Bulawayo. So the decentralization process, you must look at that, and you, as young people, must know that we don't go further than provinces. Also, that is one thing you must understand. So when you talk about decentralization, when you are contributing to debate, you must be aware of that. But when we go down to ward level and district level, we use Ministry of Youth, Sports and Recreation personnel who are seconded to the Zimbabwe Youth Council to just assist in our initiatives. But we all know that when someone has another task and dual reporting issues come into play and all those, so those are some of the challenges then that you face as you go down to grassroots. So you will not meet a Zimbabwe Youth Council official at what level, at district level. It will be a Ministry of Youth officer who is serving the Zimbabwe Youth Council. And while they may try their best to serve, they may not do it to the best of your expectations because they are not employed by the Zimbabwe Youth Council. They have other activities within the ministry. So you may face challenges in registrations taking time or longer than expected. But where all things are in place, where all your documentation is in place, registration of a youth association must not take more than 14 days. your requirements. We can share requirements later after the program, or if you visit our sites on social media. The requirements are quite simple. The financial requirement is 100 Zimbabwe dollars. Your constitution, the name of the institution, your profile, and the recommendation letter from a responsible authority. It can be a person, council like MP, or an institution. In terms of companies, we don't have much control because we are working with the registrar of companies. But what it takes is for you to submit your name, just the same way you do it with even agencies or at the offices. But we are trying to provide a friendly environment where we explain where if you come to our offices, you don't have internet access, we do the name search for you, we create the profiles and all that, so that it is friendly to young people. The time it takes, it really depends with how much work they have. Currently, I know that there is a lot of work that we've received from young people who are trying to register companies. I may give an indication later on how long it takes, but it shouldn't take a month, all things equal. But you know it does take longer if you have proposed names and those names are already taken, and then you have to resubmit your name search and stuff like that. There was a question on it was a comment on publicity. Yes, it's unfortunate that we are viewed the way we are viewed in a number of ways by a number of people, depending with also their agenda. But the Zimbabwe Youth Council is non-political. It is a government institution that serves young people. Our image must also reflect reflected by the image that government presents to its citizens, that is to serve young people. Why it is difficult, not possible, that we are politically affiliated, is that the committee that oversees the activities of the council are the committee members that you saw in this room, and those members are from all political parties, and they play an oversight role, including the Zimbabwe Youth Council. So if ever we do divert and we are found wanting, those are the committee members that will put us in line with what we must be achieving for citizens. So we cannot be political. We must serve every young person. But I think our publicity, yes, we have been informed, we've been told, and we are aware that we need to do more in terms of publicizing the way that we do. But in some instances, the other challenge is that remember that the Zimbabwe Youth Council is a council. Yes, while we're an institution, we're a council, meaning we are a grouping of young people and youth associations. And it would be, for us, it would be prudent for institutions like NAYO to be visible, for institutions like EA to be visible, and other institutions, any other institutions that are affiliated to us or that are registered with us to be visible, because those are the ones that must be doing the work and serving young people on the ground. We must support them and develop their capacities to serve young people. So it's really a tricky situation, but yes, admitted, the work that we do for young people must be shown by us, and must be shown through also the youth associations that we support. The question about the youth bill. Yes, the youth bill was, we started talking about it, it's been a year now. The Youth Council, again, colleagues, you must pay attention to this, and you must, I think, appreciate and also act on it. The Youth Council is, like I said, it's a council board. There's a board, 15-member board, And we all know the issues around the board, the Zimbabwe Youth Council board. This also comes to your question, Richard. The Zimbabwe Youth Council has been operating by a secretariat for a long time. We are servants or we are workers of the council. And the council is people. And the council is the one that must move the agenda of the Zimbabwe Youth Council. So the current minister, Honorable Dr. Kirsti Coventry, he has started the process of putting in place a Zimbabwe Youth Council board. She has appointed members, and the process to election of the 7 other members to complete the board is a process, is I think at advanced levels that we must have the board, we may have the board before the end of the year. So that board then is the one that pushes the agenda for the Zimbabwe Youth Council. So wherever we are lobbying or we are discussing about the Zimbabwe Youth Council, we must remember that that one is a priority above all other priorities to have the Zimbabwe Youth Council board in place. It will serve the interests of young people and it will direct the activities of the Secretariat of the Zimbabwe Youth Council. So then when we are talking about the issues that we are discussing now, it is also fair to say that we have been working with an institution that was sort of disabled. Yes, in the absence of the board, the minister gives direction. But again, we come back to the issue that we want, and we are saying, as young people must give direction to this institution. So the issues to do with the National Youth Board, the National Youth Bill, are issues that we must prioritize, all of us as young people. And as soon as this board comes in, it must also prioritize these issues because it is the true representative of our young people. So you will see that, colleagues, I know you understand this concept that a secretariat is an employee. The secretariat is an employee. So the employee must get constant direction from its employer. And in the absence of its employer, not much can happen. And you must take the government or the minister to task. In this case, I think we must support the minister as she puts in place a board that will oversee the development of young people. So, Richard, when you talk of what is the position of the council or the Zimbabwe Youth Council, if it's what your members are going through. They are going through all that in the absence of a council that must speak to those issues. But the concerning thing is that ZINASU, ZIKOSU, and all other youth bodies are the ones that make the council. You know, we are going through the processes to put in place the board for the elections. You guys must push that council must be there, and that council will speak for you. So these issues will always come back to haunt us if we don't put in place or if we're not aware of what structures must be in place, either for our protection, for our provision, or for our participation. So the weakness in the Zimbabwe Youth Council is that, which I think the minister is trying to fix, the absence of a board. It will be very difficult for anyone to speak on behalf of young people if a council is not in place. I cannot go into detail in terms of protecting those young people, lest we also protect what the courts I think have a better idea of what is happening in that situation, and we hope that they can attend to it as well as they should. But I want to also suggest that we need to open up our places so that we can also have these conversations. I am not aware of the situation at council, we have engaged together, we've come together at a table and discussed the challenges that the council as an affiliate or a registered member of Zimbabwe Council is facing. Perhaps we just see this in the media. It is difficult to buy or take any other one at the meeting. But we have a relationship with Zimbabwe Council and Council. Perhaps we could make use of that and see which takes us as far as the challenges that the council is facing. The other questions relate to, sorry, you may need to remind me. Yes. Okay, yes, the youth caucus. Yes, the youth caucus is a process that is now happening. What we have been informed about is that the youth caucus was adopted by Parliament. So it means that they have accepted that idea. The youth caucus is just a members of Parliament, as many as possible, who support the youth development agenda. It doesn't have to be, there is no age limit to who can be a member, but we just are looking for people who support the youth development agenda in Parliament. The challenges of putting an age limit, amongst others, is that you may not have those people in that age limit that you want. For example, if you say the age limit is 40, you probably get 5 people. And in a year or 2 years' time, they would have graduated out of the bracket. It would have been good for them. I think it is good for us if even 8-year-olds support our agenda. It also makes it very, very important for us to get such support rather than just make it an age thing. I think that would be a dangerous situation that would divide either us or our country. So I think this is a noble idea that we must lobby for as many people in parliamentarians who we know personally to say what we are creating focus. We lobby for these people to be part of this committee so that we have as many people as possible supporting youth development and youth-friendly legislation in Parliament. I hope I've answered all questions. Leader, you had.
Yeah, I was asking that they need for the national youth policy when we now have the national youth policy. See the other youth framework and the other.
Yes, the youth policy may sort of fall away. But the good thing about the youth policy is that it speaks beyond the legislative requirements. It creates an environment. It tries to create a culture, so to speak. Even on its own, while it is not binding, it tries to cultivate a culture amongst state and non-state actors on the agents of youth development and youth empowerment, on how people must just view youth empowerment. An act will be very specific, it will be very prescriptive, and the act may not be as detailed as a policy. The policy will go beyond. The policy will talk about other issues that even the act may not have. I think the act will be very important to be supreme, but the policy will remain, I think, an important document that is persuasive, that is very broad, and creates a culture within the country that we all will feel persuaded to follow rather than must follow.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Nani.
Thank you.
Please let us wave. Ahoy, Mayuti.
Ahoy.
Maisa, ahoy.
Ahoy.
Ahoy, my comrades. Comrades, ahoy. The energy levels are going a bit down, but I think it's really understandable attitude. Because it's also been a day that we have been putting our brains to the maximum in terms of processing issues, debating, engaging. And I'm sure we're now closing at a point where there's now some form of saturation. So thank you very much, Mr. Nani, for sharing with our young people the work of the Zimbabwe Youth Council, and more importantly, for also giving us a rundown of some of the initiatives which the council is doing towards trying to empower and develop young people. It's my wish and aspiration that for each and every young person here, we try and locate the different programs that Mr. Nani was speaking about in our own communities, because now you know about them. So you can show and take with your own communities and also have other young people engaging in some of those programs. So at this juncture, we are now in our closing session, where we need to take stock of some of the issues that we have deliberated on since morning up to now, before we then break and have tea and also network and also maybe have a photo. So for the closing session, allow me to invite Miss Stella Jumbe to come and give us closing remarks. I think as she is coming, there are important and several takeaways that we have from this meeting as a youth, and she's going to speak to some of those issues and also highlight them. And I think the key word that we should all take as we leave this place is really the need for us to act and to continually contribute and participate as young people. So allow me at this juncture to allow Madam Stella to speak to us and also give us the closing remarks on behalf of the board for NAYO. Thank you.
Okay. The meeting has ended. She is going to my meeting. Basa ndizvonai. Tine basa ngatisimukei mayu tizvimirire ndizvonai. And I promise Parliament tigadzirewo siti rangu kuya ati mati. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, my name is Stella Jumbe, one of the NAYO board member. Ladies and gentlemen, there's an African proverb which says, a baby on its mother's back does not know the journey is long. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to indulge your creative mind. Continuously, we raise our concern to the Parliament, our mother union, whilst we sit comfortably on her back. At times we disregard of what it takes to shift paradigms. Ladies and gentlemen, our gathering today showed our ambition as youth, solution-oriented. We are keen to work hand in hand with the Parliament, represented here by the Parliament Portfolio Committee on Youth, Sports, Art and Recreation. Comrades, the road to youth inclusion, representation and empowerment focus on our ambition as youth. To make it a daily part of our work and lives, we have had important discussions with the Parliament. Discussions which we trust to warm the seat of Parliament when it opened for the fourth section of the 19th Parliament of Zimbabwe. Today is a clear demonstration that together, as youth and the Parliament, we need to continuously work together. We must walk hand in hand to enable us to see how long the journey is, which enable us to chart practice solutions and pathways. It is clear that there is need for actions in addressing the youth, the youth inclusion and marginalization which remains high. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to summarize the key issues which emerged out of this conference for us as youth to work on with ambitions. The need to commit to improve youth representations in government processes. The importance of youth undertaking work around accountability and monitoring of the utilization of the ministry budgets of youth. The National Youth Service Program and how best we can plan and design what will work better for our youth. The youth eligibility for public office campaign and its importance to youth. We remain committed as NAYO to create such spaces and are grateful to general support of Action Aid International Zimbabwe, which is creating possibilities for us to engage with youth and the Parliament. The collaboration of the Parliament and its partnerships is commendable. We remain committed to our vision, a vision that you lay down for us as youth, to reposition, to redefine and enhance the role of the youth in community and development process. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and I wish you all success.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, a round of applause. All right, so comrades, this brings us to the end of a very long, pragmatic, progressive day, where we have been a part of the youth conference on parliamentary engagement. Allow me maybe to explain some few logistical issues. For those that are coming from Harare, I would encourage you to come on that day and see me before you leave. And then for the colleagues that are accommodated here, I will attend to you once we are done with the colleagues that are from Harare. Since you are accommodated here. And then for those that might have missed some of the sessions of the meeting, we were broadcasting live on the NAYO Zimbabwe Facebook page and also the Zim Daily page. On Twitter, you can also follow the hashtag Leave Knowing Behind. You can also be able to catch up with some of the deliberations which we had since this morning. And through the official channels that we use, we'll also be reaching out to you in terms of some of the next steps and also some of the key moments where we might need to mobilize to provide support, be it to the Parliament, to initiatives by the youth, and also to some of the work which the Zimbabwe Youth Council is also going to be rolling out. With those words, allow me